I think it's now time to talk about spoilers for Avengers Endgame. And I love this movie. As an MCU fan, for all the MCU fans out there, this movie was spectacular. It was just like just a great movie for all the fans out there, especially with the fans who've been with the MCU from the start. And that's pretty much, that's a lot of people, of course. And because there were so many references to other movies in this, the other MCU movies in this movie, I think the Russo brothers did it well. There's not a lot of negatives I can say about it, and I probably will only bring up maybe like two minor negatives, I guess. But really, I just thought it was just good, and I mean, so even those negatives turn into positives later in the movie. So yeah, I don't know where to start, but I'll probably start from the start for this movie. So yeah, I guess I'll just go in order of events, I guess, in this review. So let's start out how the movie started off with Hawkeye losing his family, and yeah, this is how I thought the movie would start out, and I think it was the only thing I kind of predicted right about this movie. Maybe there were other small stuff, but I just thought, okay, we're probably gonna see Hawkeye lose his family to start the movie, and indeed we did. He's got his daughter over there shooting arrows with her, training her to shoot arrows. Maybe I know it's gonna like his like the show he's supposed to have, or probably will have in like the Disney Plus series will probably be him and his daughter, I think. So I think it's a kind of a clue to where it might go. But we see that, of course, him training his daughter. They're brought up a picnic, and then of course his wife, played by Linda Cardellini, they like her and the kids disappear, and he's like, "What the hell just happened? I don't know where did everyone go?" And I mean that sucks. I mean, I love the way they filmed it. They filmed it very realistically, and it was kind of like they the camera just track his movements. And it was just like, yeah, it was a very frantic look to Hawkeye, and just like, yeah, I mean, he really didn't know what was going on, and yeah, that sucked. And it was just like a terrific way to start the movie because you had to show Hawkeye his family disappearing in from the snap, and I thought, yeah, that's the way you had to do it. Yeah. But we also see like later on, I mean, next I think we go over to Iron Man and Nebula, and they're stranded in space. They're trying to launch from Titan, of course, or they did launch from Titan, and yeah, I mean, for Iron Man and for Stark, Tony, he thinks he's like they're done, and even when he's like, he kind of goes down to the floor, collapses after he's like talking to Pepper through the helmet, and Nebula has to just pick him up and just like put him in his seat because you think, oh, it's just like kind of your last legs right there. But I mean, I guess they're not stranded out there, at least from the movie's pace. They're not stranded out there for long. They probably were like off screen, but we do see Captain Marvel, of course. Captain Marvel, I thought that was like, I think that's the only thing that makes sense that would save him because I thought, okay, we have to like Captain Marvel. That's gotta be the person that saves like Tony and Nebula. I thought, okay, that's good, and yeah, we see the Captain Marvel bringing them back to like Avengers HQ, the Avengers compound, and that's like that was cool to see that. And you see Pepper in there, of course, and I mean, and the embrace that like Captain America has for him when he comes back is pretty cool. But it's kind of short lived at this moment because it's like you see Tony later. He's like in a wheelchair. He's sick, all sickly because he's infected from his like stab wound. And I mean, they did a good job making him look sickly in that wheelchair, and he's not in a good mood. He's kind of like just harping about how he wanted to protect the world by putting a sheet of armor, and that's a call back to Age of Ultron, which is cool. And he's just like, and he again collapses to the floor, and they just have to like, okay, we're gonna have to he's gonna have to have the rest, I guess, but he's just in no shape to do some fighting. And then we get the confrontation with Thanos. Well, before that, of course, Captain Marvel saying, okay, I want to go fight him, and let's go fight him. And then you got like Rhodey saying, you haven't been here that long, and like, how you trying to lead us? And she's like, okay, there's a lot of plants out there that don't have you guys. So yeah, this is like the dialogue they have there. But Nebula knows where he is. They all go over, and it's like it's kind of one sided. It's kind of like they take advantage by like getting like kind of blindsiding Thanos. They catch him off guard, but of course when they get there, we see that yeah, Thanos says he's crushed the stones. He got rid of them, so there's no going back in the present day. And of course, you see the side of his face. It's like he's kind of like burnt, and it's just like, yeah, he got rid of the stones, and Thor was not happy. And he cut off his arm, and then of course he was just so angry he had to cut off his head, and that was like a what the f moment, because I was like, what? Thor just decapitated Thanos in the start of the movie, and yeah, it was like, okay, yeah, they like that. It was at that moment they were like, okay, nothing's gonna happen. We're not gonna be able to reverse this, and it's like, okay, Thor was like, I'm just gonna take care of this dude. I'm just gonna go for the head. Finally, he does it. So yeah, I was like, wow, that was like a very, very brutal moment to start the movie. But yeah, it was crazy. But then we go to the part where we see it goes 5 years later, which is crazy. 5 years later, and I think one of the first things we see is Ant-Man getting out of the quantum realm. And of course, Ant-Man goes to the Avengers compound to propose a time travel to go back and try to fix what happened in like 5 years ago. And I just love the human moments they have in this movie, especially before that with Cap and Black Widow. I thought they their conversation before that was cool, and that's when Ant-Man comes over, Scott Lang comes over and proposes, okay, we can possibly like fix this, what happened. But of course we see later, of course they go to Tony Stark's house, and he's living somewhere in like outside the city, and he has a daughter, and that's crazy. Like, he has a daughter, and you get the sense right away that he probably may not want to do this, because it may reverse what happened with him like getting married to Pepper and having a daughter. But I guess they actually they actually mentioned like later, they actually mentioned later that that wouldn't be reversed. It would only go into like another timeline, which is kind of it's another cool way. It's a very comic book like type of thing also. So it's, yeah, another timeline. It's kind of cool way to explain that, yeah, nothing's gonna change in your present timeline. So that's cool. But yeah, Tony doesn't want to do it at first though, because he doesn't, I mean, I guess he doesn't trust it, but of course he later is like, yeah, I'm gonna get into this. I mean, I want to like I know I can do this, and he's of course not gonna like sit aside, of course. But they go to Bruce Banner, of course. Bruce Banner is now Professor Hulk, and he's just like Bruce Banner and the Hulk together, and it's just, that's cool to see, because I'm glad, like, this is one of the reasons they didn't show too much in the trailer, and it's just like, okay, that's pretty cool. You see, it does look like Mark Ruffalo, but almost like twice his size, only bigger, and that's cool. I like that, the Professor Hulk look. I thought that was kind of funny, and seeing that the conversation with him and Ant-Man when they're in that diner with the kids, I thought that was a very realistic take on what probably would happen with, like, maybe if superheroes did exist, and they're like, and kids were like, okay, I want a photo with Hulk, but I don't really want it with Ant-Man. So I thought that was cool. And then we see like a New Asgard, of course. They go to New Asgard. I think it was Hulk and Rocket. So yeah, of course Rocket is part of like the crew now. I think there's one like a line of, like Tony had. It was like, I thought you were a Build-A-Bear. Like, so yeah, that was pretty funny. But of course, Rocket and Hulk go all the way to New Asgard, which is actually in Norway, I think. And Thor is now fat. And this is one of my sort of negatives in the movie, because I was like, okay, is this just for a gag? I thought, I was like, wow. And of course, he's there when Valkyrie's actually there too. That's how they first meet. So it's cool to see Valkyrie there. You got Korg and Meek, and Korg and Meek are playing Fortnite, which is cool. And I thought it was pretty good, because of course Fortnite's having the Avengers like crossover, but I guess it goes both ways. Like, Avengers crossing over into Fortnite, you got Fortnite crossing over into Avengers, at least for like a small scene. So I thought that was cool. So yeah, but we see like Thor, of course, kind of reluctant to go with them, but he eventually does. And then we go over to Hawkeye, who's slaying people in Tokyo, which is like, yeah, he's turned into a vigilante pretty much when his family died, got a mohawk and everything. He's like, okay, I'm a new man, I'm a Ronin now. And I thought that was like, he looked pretty badass, probably the most badass Hawkeye has ever been in the MCU. But we get all of them coming together, which is pretty cool. We get the money shot or one of the money shots where they're like kind of like with their quantum realm suits and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, and of course Tony comes by. You have some funny moments with like the with Scott Lang eating the tacos. You see the ship coming in with like Nebula. I think it was Nebula, I think it was Nebula. I forgot who was that in the ship. I think it was definitely Nebula and a rocket. But it was just like, okay, this is kind of cool, and then they still have comedy in there, which is pretty awesome as well. I thought the comedy worked very well, and it's just like if you're not gonna have comedy in this, it's probably gonna be very sour. And the comedy very much gave it like a tone that was needed for this kind of movie, because we don't want it to be like very like dark and taken too seriously that you're gonna laugh at it like BVS did. But yeah, but I thought this was good. So yeah, so then we go to the quantum realm stuff in this movie, where of course they go back in time and go time traveling. But yeah, but Cap, Iron Man, and Ant Man going back to try to steal the Tesseract, and of course Loki's staff, which has the Mind Stone, of course, in New York, because all three are like there's like three Infinity Stones in New York at the same time. And I like that where they pointed it out, because it was like that probably would have been, if they hadn't done that, there would have been a fan out there that would have pointed it out in like a video or something like that, or an article like, oh, they could have gone to New York very easily in like 2012. I think it was 2012, and that could, like, a fan could have said, oh, hey, there's a plot hole. You could have done this so easily. But yeah, but they do it, and they go to New York. At least Cap, Iron Man, and Ant-Man go to Avengers Tower, where like the aftermath of the Battle of New York took place. You see in the Avengers Tower that they just finished. They're confronting Loki, of course. And it's pretty cool to see that, like, the aftermath of that like little scene at the end of Avengers where they're all looking at Loki, and it's pretty cool. That's awesome. And then of course they go to the bottom of the building where, yeah, or actually I'll probably stay on what I actually liked like really well in this scene is the Cap versus Cap moment. And I thought that was great. That was crazy. Like Captain America fighting Captain America, and he like after he like the present day Cap wins, he said that little line, of course, yeah, that is America's ass. That was like that was a very funny line. And I like the edge of what Captain America had in this movie, because he kind of has, like, you understand how he has the edge in this movie that he probably didn't in the last movies. And of course going back to like where they're gonna go after Thanos, he's like, okay, let's go get this son of a bitch. I thought that was a cool line. They like when they cut the credits, but seeing Cap fighting Cap was cool. And also one of the things that was a callback to the comics was a Hail Hydra moment in the elevator, where he's with I think it was Crossbones. It's Crossbones, Agent Sitwell making a return. I thought that was cool as well. And then him whispering Hail Hydra. And it was also a callback to the Winter Soldier, because he's getting in the elevator. He's like, I'm expecting him to say, before we get started, does anyone want to get out? I thought that scene was so good. And he just said, I mean, that was good when he said Hail Hydra. But yeah, we go to I think it was like the bottom of the building, of course. It was like the first floor of the building where they're trying to get the Tesseract, Tony and Ant-Man. And Ant-Man goes and like it kind of he kind of almost puts the past Tony unconscious. I was like, that's pretty weird. But we also see Robert Redford makes a return as Alexander Pearson. He's one of the actors in here. I thought, okay, I was kind of shocked to see him return in this movie. So I'm guessing Robert Redford's last appearance in a movie might be Avengers Endgame, which is pretty weird. But it was cool. They got him to come back as Alexander Pearson. It's a very realistic moment that, being like the secretary of S.H.I.E.L.D. or head of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm not sure what he is, but he would be there at the moment to get the Tesseract. I thought that was cool. But also, like, Tony's about to get the Tesseract in, then the Hulk comes in. They told the Hulk in like the upstairs in Avengers Tower that you're gonna have to take the stairs, and he's all mad. But when he gets down to the bottom floor, he's all mad, and he knocks Tony down. The Tesseract lands right by Loki, and Loki ends up taking the Tesseract, and that was pretty cool, him going in the wormhole. And of course, that's gonna lead us where we're gonna have the Loki show on Disney Plus. So yeah, I love the tie-ins they had with the future of the MCU in the Disney Plus universe. I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, Loki takes off with the Tesseract, and then they had to go back to 1970s, the Shield headquarters, which also had some really good moments. And of course, got to mention the Stan Lee cameo. I thought that was Stan Lee cameo was so good. And then you got like Hank Pym, Michael Douglas. Kind of they got the de-aging technology on Michael Douglas again, gave him the long hair. So I thought that was cool. But of course, that's where like Tony had to steal the Pym particles because they had to get like they needed more time. They needed more times where they can go to the past. And I thought, okay, that's clever. Get the Pym particles in the 1970s. But of course, Tony Stark runs into his father, a younger age father, Howard Stark. Their conversation I thought was really well done. I thought that was good. And it was just sweet. It was just seeing him embraced with his father, of course, and talking to him about how he has a daughter. And then, of course, Howard says, I think he says his wife is pregnant. So I thought that was cool. Steve and Peggy. Steve has that brief moment where he looks through the window, seeing Peggy. And I thought that was cool. He didn't want to go and I guess say anything there, but I mean that of course comes by later on, and I thought that was sweet. But then we go to Hulk. Hulk, of course, going back to New York in the 2012, goes to the Sanctum Sanctorum to get the Time Stone, and the Ancient One's there, played by Tilda Swinton. And Tilda Swinton, another actor I didn't think they would bring back, but yeah, she got back for this role as the Ancient One. I thought their scene was really cool, like her knocking him into the, what was it called, where they knocks his soul out of his body. I thought that was cool. And then Bruce Banner is all the same again. I thought that was neat. And of course he finally kind of gets her to hand over the Time Stone and saying that okay, this is what Doctor Strange wanted, and Doctor Strange might not be around, but the Ancient One actually knows that. And if Doctor Strange does wants the Time Stone, or if this is his purpose, then this must be where I give up the Time Stone. But yeah, nonetheless, I thought Hulk and the Ancient One, their conversation was really good. You got Rocket and Thor going to Asgard. There's a callback to probably the weakest movie in the MCU, Thor: The Dark World, but it's also a sweet moment because we get to see Thor and his mother, of course. Yeah, I think this is where the Thor, the thing I thought it was a gag with this movie, him being fat and drunk, what did really pay off, because his conversation with his mother, of course, the day that she actually dies in Thor Ragnarok, and I thought that was cool too, because I mean, yeah, she's telling him, okay, at the end, you probably should have salad, but I thought their conversation was good. And of course, Rocket taking the ether out of I think he didn't really show it too much, but he did get the ether, the Reality Stone, out of Jane Foster, which was okay, they didn't show it, but they got it. But yeah, I thought I thought they brought it around this, and of course he gets Mjolnir back, which is pretty cool too. And so yeah, so Thor and his mother, that scene was pretty good. I like that. But then, of course, Hawkeye and Black Widow. This is one of the moments in the movie that was very heartbreaking, because yeah, when I saw Hawkeye and Black Widow on Vormir, I was like, okay, one of them is gonna have to die. I mean, there's no way they can't get past one of them dying in this moment. But of course, they get there at the top. Red Skull's there telling them, you gotta sacrifice a loved one. And Hawkeye and Black Widow, they both want to sacrifice their own selves, and they have the fight. And just as it seems that Hawkeye, of course, is going to make the jump, Black Widow, Natasha, grabs him, and of course, winds up sacrificing herself. And that was rough, because I didn't think Black Widow was going to be one of the characters that was going to die in this movie. And I mean, for Scarlett Johansson in this movie, I thought this was their best work in the MCU for sure. I'm not sure. I haven't seen every movie with her, but I thought this is probably one of her strongest movies. I thought she did great in Endgame. Yeah, I thought, okay, that was pretty cool. And then, well, not cool for her dying, but yeah, but she's getting a solo movie, which I think they kind of hinted at when I think it was like Red Skull said daughter of Ivan, and she says I didn't even know my father's name, and he knew it. And that's probably what's gonna lead into the Black Widow movie, because that's probably gonna be like an origin story sort of, and probably Ivan's gonna be in the name. Maybe David Harbour is Ivan in Black Widow's solo movie. But yeah, but very heartbreaking, of course, with not just Natasha sacrificing herself. Something I did not expect in this movie. And of course, Rhodey and Nebula go to steal the orb, the Power Stone from like the place where Peter Quill was gonna steal it. And I thought that was cool when Rhodey, of course, was like he ended up going back, but Nebula couldn't get back. And then, of course, Thanos, of course, leading up to that moment, Thanos had, of course, Nebula there, the past Nebula and the past of Gamora. And yeah, and Nebula, I thought it was pretty cool that Nebula, the past Nebula, can still like have like the same consciousness as the present day Nebula, and that's where they see like that they kill Thanos and they chop off his head, and he takes it personal from there on, and they get Nebula, the present day Nebula, and of course the old Nebula goes in disguise back to the Avengers compound, and yeah, that's when the shit goes down. That's when it all goes down. But before that, of course, Hulk is like, yeah, I'm using the gauntlet to snap, and you see it fries like the all of his like I think it was like the left side of him. I'm not sure if it was the left or the right. I forgot. But of course he does it because no one else is strong enough to like take on the full power of the Infinity Stones. So Hulk had to do it, and it worked. It worked, and they were like, okay, they were happy for a moment, and then of course Thanos came in, and Thanos was like, he just destroyed. I mean, he just sent, I don't know, missiles down to destroy the compound. I was like, wow. I mean, it was kind of short lived because he kind of thought, okay, they got everyone back. That's cool. But it's like, okay, Thanos means business. He's taking it personal. And yeah, he didn't quite like what they did. And he got to them. And of course, this is a different Thanos, of course, because like the past Thanos, I feel like the Thanos in Infinity War is kind of more like almost like a peaceful like villain, because he's just like his goal was to destroy half of the universe. He was like, I'm only probably gonna kill you if you get in my way, or if you're part of the people on the staff, but it's gonna be all random. But this Thanos was like intense. He didn't like he took it personal, of course, and he was like, I'm gonna destroy the whole universe and try to rebuild it because you like I don't like what you Avengers did. So that's what he planned, and that's when the fight happened. Cap, Iron Man, and Thor go in the fight. Like Thanos, you have like a bunch of stuff happening in the compound, which is I don't think is as important as the fight, but I thought that was cool. And of course, Ant-Man is in there, like trying to like rescue Hulk, and I think it was Hulk and Rocket, I think, was in there. But yeah, but we see Cap and like I think was it this moment? I probably did see the movie again, but I think it was this moment where Cap was fighting. He got Mjolnir, which was just one of the craziest moments in the movie. And I thought, look, the fans just erupted. The fans in the theater just erupted. That was crazy. Of course, it was a callback to Age of Ultron, which, yeah, and Cap fighting Mjolnir was so cool. And he didn't have any problem lifting it. He was just swinging it back and forth. I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, but eventually everything seems lost. I mean, that was like, Thanos was like, Thanos wasn't going to be overpowered by anything, really. But of course, we get the moment where everyone comes back. I love, like, the voice in Cap's ear, like, slowly coming back with, it was Sam, of course, saying, on your left. And, of course, everyone comes back. I mean, Doctor Strange letting everyone back in. And, of course, I love when, like, the first person you see is, like, Black Panther. I mean, just everyone coming in. I mean, Spider-Man giving it, like, Tony an embrace. I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. This is one of the greatest moments in comic book movie history. Just seeing all those Marvel characters on screen at the same time was absolutely crazy. And of course, the battle begins. It's almost like the battle from Ready Player One, except I know every one of these characters. I thought everything from this was cool. I mean, Captain Marvel comes in near the end. She takes out the ships. I thought that was cool. You got that all woman like shot where you have like, I mean, Scarlet Witch is there. I mean, like the Wasp. You got Denai Guerrero, was it not Denai Guerrero? Well, it is Denai Guerrero, but Okoye. I mean, all the woman characters in that shot. I thought it was like, wow, that is one of the craziest shots. It's like a very epic shot, also, especially when they begin fighting. When everyone begins fighting and charging, I thought that was cool. That was awesome. But of course, I said Thanos meant business, and even Captain Marvel, as powerful as she was, she got in there with a fight with him. He just took the Power Stone and just like knocked her out, which was like, oh, I was like crazy. And of course, I hope they call back this movie when they say, okay, Captain Marvel, you're probably not the most powerful like person in the universe, so you're probably going to work on something. So I thought that was kind of good. And of course, Thanos, of course, was gonna do the snap again. Him and Tony had that little fight where it's like Thanos tries to snap, it doesn't work. Of course, Tony somehow took all like the gauntlet for himself, or like took all the Infinity Stones to himself, and he just snaps and says, "I," or no, it was before I could like say that. Thanos is the one that says, "I am inevitable," and then Tony's like, "I am Iron Man," and he snaps Thanos and his army out of existence, which is so cool because it's another callback to Iron Man, the end of Iron Man, where he says, "I am Iron Man." I thought that was cool. And of course, as we know earlier, that no regular human could take on the full force of the Infinity Stones, and this is where Tony dies. And I mean, it's heartbreaking, and seeing this moment, and like, I mean, seeing the emotions on Pepper's face, everybody's face. I mean, like Peter Parker. I mean, Cap. I mean, everybody. Like at that moment, it was like, wow. I think it was just like disbelief that this could happen. But yeah, I mean, and of course, there's earlier in the battle where I think like Tony says to Doctor Strange, "Is this your one? Like, is this the one way you saw this going where we would win?" And Doctor Strange says to him, "If I tell you, it's not gonna happen." And that's when like that's good, because like if Tony would have knew, he probably would have. Okay, I probably want to live past this moment, and I'm just going. And if he hesitated, something probably would have went wrong. So yeah, I guess this had to happen for them to win. And I mean, it's of course expected death. Of course, we thought like Iron Man or Captain America might die in this one, but it ends up being Iron Man, which is like, he got it started off with the MCU. I thought it's like a fitting end. And of course, when they had that funeral scene, that's when everyone was like just like tearing up in the theater. I was like, I didn't really tear up. I was just like, my like eyes are just like watery. I was afraid I was gonna tear up. I guess it was like, wouldn't have been a bad thing to do it, but just like it was so quiet in the theater at that moment, you can just hear the sniffles and stuff, because these fans, I mean, like fans just grew up with Iron Man. I think he's been the most popular character in the MCU for sure. Maybe like he's not like Iron Man's not been he hasn't been like the most popular in the comics, but definitely in the MCU with Robert Downey Jr.'s performance, I thought that was good. And of course, to get the hologram talking to his like daughter and everybody, I thought that was pretty cool. Also, and of course, the funeral, we've seen everybody there in the MCU, even like I didn't even know who this kid was in like when they showed that kid, but it was actually like Ty Simpkins, the kid from Iron Man 3. So I thought that was like yeah, he kind of had to be there too, I guess. But yeah, I just like, that was like a moment. It was kind of one of those moments out of the comic books. If they have like a funeral in a comic book, that like to have everybody there was cool. And just like, yeah, such a good moment. Well, I mean, I don't want to say such a good moment, but such a like memorable moment from this movie in the MCU. But yeah, rest in peace, Tony Stark. That sucked. I mean, but I think someone had to sacrifice themselves and had to be Tony, and end up having to be Natasha, Black Widow. So yeah, so after that, we see some stuff that leads to other stuff that's going to happen in the MCU. Thor joining the Guardians, which is cool, because Thor is basically just like a comedic character now, and he's going to fit in right with the Guardians. And I love what they did with Gamora, of course, because Gamora, you kind of felt like she was going to come back, but you didn't want her like to come back after after her death, of course, on Vormir. Like, it was like they can't bring back present day Gamora, but instead the past Gamora is going to stay in the present, and Star-Lord has to get to know her all over again, which is going to be interesting. I thought, okay, that's going to be interesting. I like the way they brought Gamora back, but that was cool. But I also see Valkyrie is the new queen of Asgard. I thought that was cool. I'm wondering if they're going to continue with the Thor movies, because I want to see Valkyrie. I want to see like Korg and Meek. I just like, okay, are they going to continue with the Thor movies, or is it just going to be Thor with the Guardians? That's all I'm wondering. But then we get to the very end, of course, where Steve is going to take the stones back, and yeah, he takes the stones back, and he doesn't come back. I mean, of course they say he's going to come back in like 5 seconds, but of course they're they're saying, where did he go? Like, he's not back. And of course they look at the old man on the bench, of course, that's just sitting there, and it ends up being Steve, of course, because he went back in the past and spent his life with Peggy, which is cool. And it's just like a fitting end to Captain America, of course, in like the MCU, because it's like, okay, he got to live life with Peggy. It was cool, and now Sam is gonna be Captain America. I thought that was pretty cool. And I like when they show like Bucky in the back. Bucky's like nodding his head. You take it, because yeah, it's your turn to be Captain America. And they really couldn't realistically make Bucky Captain America, because he's killed people, a lot of people, even though he was brainwashed. It was like, there's going to be people, the public out there is going to be questioning, why is this guy the new Captain America? But I love that Sam Wilson's going to be the new Captain America. Of course, they have that series that's going to be on Disney Plus, which is going to be interesting. And so it's going to be interesting. I wonder if they're going to change like the title of that, because are they going to call like Sam Wilson Captain America, or is he going to be still the Falcon? But yeah, but that was cool to see like Chris Evans' Captain America go out. I thought that was awesome. And of course, with the movie closing out with Steve dancing with Peggy, I thought that was cool too. So yeah, and that was a cool way to close it out, because the Russo brothers, they started out with the Captain America, of course, with the Captain America and the Winter Soldier. So yeah, and I thought this is a very, very well done way to end the movie, and then it's sort of on a positive note, because I think if it ended with Tony's like funeral, that would have probably had fans like crying walking out the theater, or crying during the credits. But yeah, but what it end, and of course there was no after credit scene, which I thought was good, because this movie didn't really require one. The only thing you actually got was a little nod to the first Iron Man, where he's like hammering in the cave. I think that's where it comes from. But I thought that was a little good nod to Iron Man. I thought that was cool. But overall, Avengers Endgame was so good, and I've talked for so long, I think I'm losing my voice here. So yeah, but Endgame was fantastic. I loved it. As an MCU fan, it was great, and I think it's just I think it's one of the best MCU movies. I'm not sure if it's the best. I probably have to see it again, but it's definitely up there. There's not a lot of flaws with this movie, at least in my opinion. There's not a lot. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10. Fantastic end to an era in the Avengers, or in the MCU. And of course, I think the new era starts like next year, because I think what I've heard, Far From Home is still going to be part of the Infinity Gauntlet era, or what do they call it? Infinity Era. I think that's what Kevin Feige called it. But yeah, so Endgame was fantastic. I loved it. Tell me what you thought. Did Endgame live up to the hype for you? Tell me down below. And yeah, tell me down below your thoughts, because you probably don't like think the same as me. You probably had some flaws with the movie. So yeah, tell me down below. Is it the best comic book movie ever? Tell me down below your thoughts. So yeah, stick with the channel for more. This video's gone long enough. My review's gone long enough. So yeah, well, stay tuned for more. And until next time, folks, I'll see you guys later. I am out.